And we are back to talk about the newest Marvel show, Secret Invasion. Preston, you just watched it, or you just watched it like yesterday. What did you think?
Yeah. It's really mixed. You know, like on the one hand, I really appreciate the fact that this show is different from other Marvel stuff. That that it's ambitious, and they actually like kill characters, and there's stakes and things like that. I do appreciate that. And then on the other hand, I'm like, God damn it, I wish it wasn't so dull. So
how so?
Well, we can get into like why I think it comes off dull to me in like a sense, but it kind of has to do with the entire genre. And keep in mind, it's how I view the Euro spy genre, the Bourne Identity kind of Euro spy like feel like that movies can have.
Would James Bond be categorized into Euro spy?
No, absolutely not.
James Bond is not European spy thriller, no?
No. And I'm using this term Euro spy because like the reason I'm using that is that when you watch a Jason Bourne movie, all of the colors muted to like gray and blues. There's very little color. They're running around a generic European looking city that could be any freaking European city. It could be Luxembourg. You know, like, I don't know if you're, Luxembourg's really funny because it's just like the most generic looking European city. Like if you knocked somebody on the head and they like woke up and they started looking around and they were like, where am I? It's definitely Europe, but I can't tell if I'm in France or Germany. It's just like, there's just like a Euro feel to the city. There's nothing like super distinct. I understand that it's supposed to take place in Moscow, but like the scenes, it's just like, the buildings are 3 stories tall and they're all like brown stone and there's cobblestones on the ground. And it's
Wait, you've been to Russia before, right?
I've never been to Russia. I've been to every other country in Europe except for Russia.
What?
Russia's the only one I haven't been to.
Are you not allowed to?
No. But Russia's always been like harder to go to because you need to go to Russia. You need to be on like a tour where you kind of give like all your locations ahead of time. Like I'm going to be in this hotel on this date, and then I'm going to see this and this. You have to give like an itinerary beforehand. And I've always been a spontaneous kind of traveler who wanted to like stay in hostels and stuff. So it's just like doing that was just like never high on my priority list.
Do you have to do this because you specifically are a government agent, or everyone has to do this?
No. Anyone, everyone has to do this. Like, yeah, every American has to do this. I don't know like visa requirements for other people, but yes, like the Russian government doesn't trust Americans. So like, if you go, you have to get you have to buy a sort of blanket tour. It doesn't mean you have to like go on the tour, but like a tour operator has to like provide you the ticket and like trip over, and then they like take a cut, and then like everything that you do on your trip is like in an itinerary. So like you can make your own itinerary, but you have to like have the invite letter from every hotel that says yes, I'm allowing this person to come and stay at this hotel for these and these days. And it's just it's just bureaucracy and paperwork and prohibitive. And it's just like, I've never bothered doing it. So that's the way a lot of travel is. I understand you're not a big traveler, but like, some countries, it's just like, you land and there's a landing visa and you can do whatever you want and they don't care. And then some countries it's like there's a visa, but you can go around the country and they don't care as long as you get that visa. And then there's countries that are like, no, you need an invitation letter and we need to know where you're staying every single day They tend to, just more closed off, paranoid countries that like do.
Remember,
this,
I had told you about the YouTuber friend of mine, Vexed. He went to North Korea, and he was telling me how I don't think he put this in his video of when he went to North Korea. He was telling me how I checked my shit. They went through my shit and didn't bother putting it back together the way it was. So they weren't super sneaky about it, but they did go through his luggage. So
Oh yeah, and often they do that on purpose. They want you to know that they're watching because they don't want you to do anything. They're just like, dude, we're watching you. Watch your back, is what they're saying.
I'm sorry, we got on this whole rabbit hole. Continue.
Oh yeah. I think Bourne Identity and that series always kind of had that feel to me. And then they kind of did a little, I suppose there are like various scenes in Falcon and the Winter Soldier that kind of do it. But no, it's unlike, I would say, James Bond movie, which is all about things being out of control and colorful and outrageous. But, you could maybe say like scenes of Mission Impossible 1 was very like, just Euro spy, like kind of thriller.
I'm glad you mentioned Falcon and Soldier because a friend of mine was watching this and he had the same. He thought it was dull. A couple people in my Discord say they fell asleep, and it's like it was just so boring. But my friend was like, I kind of feel like the bad guys. He forgot the name of them. I forgot them too. The bad guys from Falcon and Soldier.
Yeah.
Like the Skrulls are threatening and insane enough that they should have been the bad guys in Falcon and Soldier into this.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, because they're way more interesting than the random kids with powers, super strength, whatever the fuck. Well, I don't even remember their names, like the group name, like
Flag Smashers.
That sounds about right. That sounds like it's dumb enough to be that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, So now I will say, like, not every part was dull. Like, well, first of all, I think I just found out that the opening was AI, but like I thought it was a horrible.
I skipped it.
Credits. Like not interesting. Yeah, not interesting. And then it begins with a scene where like immediately that the guy from Black Panther is like a Skrull. Like it's almost like immediate. It's like so obvious, like in the first scene, which I don't even understand why they even have that scene, because it's like this one guy has figured out the Skrull situation, and so the Skrulls kill him. But it seems like everybody knows about the Skrull situation anyway. Or did they find out from him?
I think I think they knew, and then he found out later, and he was trying to blow the whistle on it. And it's to show that if they got to Agent Ross and were able to copy him effectively, then that means they're high in government all over the place. Even special agents are not safe. Because remember, they can also take, if they have Agent Ross captured and hook up to that machine, they have his memories and like all the info he knows they have as well. That's what makes them extra tough to deal with, because they can't just copy your face. Yeah. They also copy your memories.
You have to, it's funny, like the Marvel universe, like how much shit happens at once. And in the comic books, it's even faster because like every year there's a huge event. But like you think about like how fucked America would be in the Marvel universe. Like, wait, your entire government was infiltrated by Hydra, right? And then you had the blip, and then now it's infiltrated by a bunch of Skrulls. Like, Jesus.
I don't think it was ever confirmed that Hydra infiltrated all of the government, just S.H.I.E.L.D. But why wouldn't they infiltrate all of the government? Because in the comics, aren't they just all ex-Nazis, super duper Nazis?
Yeah, but like there's some retcons. Like some say I think they're Nazis, but I think in some continuities they drop the whole like racial purity bullcrap thing, and like took on. They were like they were Nazis, but they became like an offshoot, which is why they start saying like Hail Hydra instead of like Hail Hitler and stuff. But yeah, so I think getting right into it, it was hard to get into at first because one, the main characters one of the main characters is a guy you don't like really care about. You know, like Talos.
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn. You don't like Ben Mendelsohn's Talos? I think Talos is pretty cool.
No, I look, I love Ben Mendelsohn and everything, but like we're talking about like a show where you're supposed to like be like, oh, I want to watch that show. You're not going to be like, oh, did you watch the Ben Mendelsohn show? The one with Talos? Like, you know, you're like, who? Like, you know, this is a Marvel show, right? So yeah, plus he's a very neutral looking guy. Like he's not, you know, he blends in. He could be anybody. He's the freaking, he would be perfect to play
a Skrull.
The Tattered Prince. No, he'd be perfect to play the Tattered Prince. You know how the Tattered Prince is supposed to look like nobody in particular? Like, yeah, that's him. You know,
so what
he doesn't look like
is,
anybody in particular.
He doesn't stand out like a normal, like, he's actually, I was going to say he's British. No, he's actually Australian. So you're saying is he doesn't stand out like Matt Smith does, where Matt Smith has like that like face.
Yeah, he doesn't have character. And this is why, like, I'll tell you like the moment. Then, so Samuel L. Jackson then arrives, and Samuel L. Jackson is normally like, pow, pow, it's me, Samuel L. Jackson. I don't want to do a Samuel L. Jackson like accent because that's, but you know what I'm talking about. That Samuel L. Jackson pops on screen, but he's playing like, for some reason, this exhausted, doesn't have it anymore, like character. And everybody's telling him constantly, like, you don't have it anymore, man. You're over the hill. You know? And then you also have like Colby Smothers' character who seems also very exhausted. And so I'm just like, man, it's a bunch of freaking like exhausted characters so far in the plot. And they all just don't seem to have energy. And then the moment I woke up is when he went and met with that British woman at her house in Moscow. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think her name is Sonia. I think
Sonia. And it's like, thank God she like came in, because you're just like, oh my God, a character, an actual character. Like I'm like, oh gosh, all of a sudden there's this like jolt of energy, somebody with a personality. Oh, thank goodness the scene is here. She was fantastic. She was absolutely fucking fantastic. And then you kind of start following around Emilia Clarke, who is also kind of an exhausted character. And I'm only interested because I'm like, oh, it's Emilia Clarke, you know? Like, she draws me in because it's Emilia Clarke, but I kind of feel like she was also just playing this kind of exhausted character. And they're in this rundown Soviet nuclear power plant that's just, you know, and so everything kind of just feels gray, and all of the characters were all getting played kind of, I don't know, not loud, not vibrant, and like the characters were dull, the environments were dull, with a few exceptions. You know, like I say, like meeting like Sonia, great character. When they met that art dealer, who was not an art dealer, that guy was fucking great. I think the villain is so far pretty interesting villain. You know,
Gravik.
And the ending, yeah. And the ending was shocking. Very shocking. But other than that, like, you know, I just saw it and it's like hard for me to even recap what happened too much, you know? Like, not much, right? I know it's like, you know, that you get the big reveal that it's his daughter, and that this other Skrull woman died off screen, which, man, should have done a flashback or something.
I don't know if I got spoiled by this in like before the episode came out. I somehow knew Emilia Clarke was Ben Mendelsohn's daughter because like they don't care about accents. Like she has an accent. Yeah, he has an accent. Wait a minute. I just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of knew. I know Ben Mendelsohn is, you know. Yeah, I know he's Australian, and right. British and Australians. I know you don't have to get mad at me, but still, I don't know, something. I just knew she was his daughter. That drama has to be there. By the way, it kind of annoys me that we don't get to see, because her mom, and Talos' wife is in like, I believe they're in Spider-Man, not No Way Home.
Yes.
Far From Home.
I think she's Colby Smothers in disguise, right?
Yes, and I think she was also in the Captain Marvel film. I hate that, like, her death was off screen. I don't like that stuff.
Yeah,
wasn't a fan of that.
Crazy, especially considering like because he has so much trauma, and you're supposed to be feeling his trauma. And it's not that Ben Mendelsohn doesn't like do a good job showing the trauma on his face. He does, but like you could have done a flashback or something to show the trauma, show how she died, so we know what we're dealing with here. And it just would have been more colorful.
They still might
than what we saw.
They still might in a couple episodes. Also, and this is what made me like the character more. When they're having a fight with the art dealer and Fury has to shoot him, you know, Talos is like, I told you no. I had, like, you could feel the pain, like, because he doesn't want to see more of his people die. Oh, yeah. I love that. Little moments like that.
It's undeniable that, like, you know, the Ben Mendelsohn actor is, I mean, he's an incredible actor. Like, I'm not gonna, you know, say he's not top notch, because he is, but like, you know, and I you are right. Like, you know, it was hard to get into it, but near the end, he is the star of the show. Weirdly, he eclipses Samuel L. Jackson as like the star of the show. Just being like the more emotional one that you can connect with more. You know? I
agree with you, and it's weird to say that because even in the Captain Marvel film, even though it's her film, Carol Danvers is the main character, Samuel L. Jackson kind of stole that from her, and he was the most interesting thing. Him and the Skrull stuff, but they were the most interesting, more so than she was. And I gotta say, I didn't like that they kept saying, like, you don't got it anymore, you don't got it. And honestly, I would rather see him not have it than everyone just keep trying to pound it into your head that this is the case. Like, come on, really?
Right, but it should be show, don't tell. Like, you know, last time we saw him, it's just so weird, because last time we saw him, he was on the freaking moon. And it's like, we're talking about a dude who came back from a moon base. And you're like, oh, you don't got it anymore. Dude, the guy was just on the fucking moon. Like, what? Like, how are you telling me he doesn't have it anymore? Like, were you on the moon? Like...
You mentioned earlier that you weren't into the tone, but I think that it fits here with this show better than it did Captain and Soldier because of how the Skrulls operate. You know, the cloak and dagger, everything's gray type of situation. The Flag Smashers, like, to me, they're just a boring enemy to give me any sense of danger, but I do feel it here with these bad guys, especially after that finale. And normally I would argue that they should have released like 2 episodes to kick us off, but that would have ruined the gut punch of how this episode ended. So, but for this type of show, this like spy, Euro spy type of thing, and what the Skrulls are, like, yeah, I didn't mind the tone for this.
So I watched it with my wife, and her comment about it was, I can't believe they killed Maria Hill without us never ever knowing a single thing about her. Like, what wasted potential, right? They could have, you know, like, they kind of like have this scene where she and Samuel L. Jackson like go to that bar and like talk, and she tells him that he doesn't have it anymore. And it's like, you could have, like, you're about to kill off the character. You could do anything you want with her. Like go into like all the adventures they had. Go into how they once hooked up. Go into anything. Like, it doesn't matter now. Like, you could have had any colorful, crazy aspect to like Maria Hill's character, and to establish that the two of them have a relationship. I mean, I was joking about the romance thing. I actually think like her and Nick Cage would have been as a romance would be a horrible idea. But did I say Luke Cage?
it's just going so many different characters. That's okay. Continue.
Yeah. But yeah, just you could have established, like, rather than her saying like, oh, we've known each other a long time, like, you don't have to have, you can say like, oh, remember way back in, Sarajevo, this and this happened, or that time in Johannesburg, or that other time in Wellington, or that time in Buenos Aires. Like, you can just throw that shit out there if you want, and establish a backstory, like why they would care so much about each other, and like make her death matter, and because right now we don't know anything about her. We don't know how close she and Nick Cage are. So, or did I say Nick? Did I say Nick Cage?
You said Nick Cage again.
Nick Fury.
Nick Fury.
Nick Fury, not Nick Cage.
I didn't want to say anything because I like that. I like that you kept going to different characters. Did I say Luke Cage?
Did I say Luke Cage? No, you went the other way. I was like, the Cage part is right. No, it's not.
I was going to compare her to Agent Coulson. You remember Agent Coulson from like the first Marvel phase? He dies. Loki kills him in the first Avengers. He's kind of one of those characters where he was there, and he's a side character. You kind of liked him, but they did give Agent Coulson at least something. He had the Captain America trading cards, and you like knew something about him. Maria Hill has nothing, so that's a good point.
She has nothing. We absolutely nothing about that character. I mean, maybe the only I know she appeared in a couple episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so maybe something was established with her there, but nothing. I
don't even think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in the same like canonical universe.
I don't think it is anymore.
Yeah,
but I think they divorced it out. But yeah, you just have nothing human to latch on with her. We just kind of, in a sense, we just like her because like we know her as Robin.
Yeah,
and that's it. We know her. We know her as Colby Smothers, and like, that, and that's it. So,
how do you like that villain? Because like his plan is to, I guess, start nuclear war between America and Russia. Cool. This is immediately an Avengers level threat, and I always love how outside of the Avengers films, the Avengers never fucking show up. Like, what is Spider-Man doing? Beating up bank robber number 9? Like, just get him over here to handle this? Like, what's Hawkeye doing?
I do like how they're just like, where are the Avengers? Unavailable. Like, don't even explain it. Just like, unavailable. Like, that's it. Like, don't.
Peter's been to Europe before, so bring him back. But I guess in order for Peter to actually come over, he'd have to, get the itinerary and the tour and all that.
I think right now they don't. Wait. I guess right now in universe they know Spider-Man exists.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that.
Peter Parker exists? Yeah. Or do they not know Spider-Man
No,
exists?
they know Spider-Man exists, but they don't know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I forgot about that.
So they don't know how to they don't know how to contact him, I think.
Fuck.
That's right now because of the but why not go to why not go to get Doctor Strange? Why not go to get a bunch of people that are in universe?
Doctor Strange could solve this problem tomorrow. He really fucking could. Especially...
Oh, yeah. He just cast a spell and, like, all the bombs would disappear.
Right, and especially... You need him especially because... Actually, no, I think he's gone, too. Remember, Charlize Theron's character appears at the very end of Multiverse of Madness, and she, like, takes him away for some fucking reason. Wow, they really haven't... There really is an explanation why everyone's gone. They're really fun. The only guy that's that you can get is Rhodes.
White Vision. The White Vision is somewhere floating around. They don't know how to contact him. He's doing something.
Wanda's dead. White Vision's floating around. The only guy who's really left is
Thor is still alive, right? He's hanging out with his daughter.
He's off world.
Maybe went off. Did he go off world with his daughter again?
I think so. And Brie Larson is I'm assuming off world or having her own adventure.
Star-Lord. Well, they don't know Star-Lord is hanging out because Star-Lord's currently on Earth, but I don't know if they know that.
Yeah, but what the fuck is Star-Lord? At the end of the day, Star-Lord's like a guy.
He's mowing his grandpa's lawn, but like that was like the whole joke at the end. Did you see Guardians 3?
I did.
Oh, okay, yeah. The joke at the end. He's just like taking care of his grandpa and like mowing his lawn. I'm trying. Yeah, there's got to be somebody. I mean, there's also S.H.I.E.L.D. What the hell? Also, I was like, how does bureaucracy work in the Marvel universe? Because at the beginning, he's got Ross, the guy's trying to give information to Ross, and it's like, Ross works for the CIA, not SHIELD.
SHIELD is gone. SHIELD has been completely dismantled. I was wondering if they're going to bring in Hammer, but I don't think so.
Sword. Sword exists, right? So Sword, because Sword was in
WandaVision.
WandaVision.
But didn't they dismantle that because like the leader of that thing was a douche or something? I forgot. I totally forgot WandaVision so long ago.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But I mean, right. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how Ross got so important, but okay.
Well, he was in Wakanda, and he's like super important to like the relationships with Wakanda. So, I mean, I guess you could get Shuri since she's the new Black Panther. But then again, what does Wakanda care about like a war between the United States and Russia?
I think they would care about nuclear fallout.
Yeah, but knowing the Wakandans, they probably have some like ridiculous technology that like exempts them from nuclear fallout. The Wakandans always seem to be a step ahead of everybody else.
What about
Fuck.
What about all the B Avengers? Like they're the Shang-Chi.
Is he in the Avengers already?
No, but he's just around. They could get Shang-Chi.
What about Wong? He ain't doing nothing.
Wong, right?
She-Hulk. She could definitely go in there and beat up everybody. So I was gonna say, because there's no way you could have
you're right. She-Hulk. Yeah.
Normal people can't get in this. Like Daredevil and Falcon and even who's Captain America's friend, Bucky. They kind of
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah, where are they?
Where were they? They would kind of be fucked because the Skrulls have super strength. I didn't realize that they have super strength, so you kind of need She-Hulk. But and Hulk.
She-Hulk would batter him up. She would just like run in there and like beat them all up, and that would be it.
Overall, I thought the episode was fairly decent. I can't wait to watch the next one. It got me hooked on that. So, plus, it's a new show. It's a new Marvel show to check out in the off season when we're waiting for some of the cool movies to come out. So, yeah, I kind of liked it. Fairly decent.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing. Like I don't want to say that I didn't like it. Like too. Like I did think it was dull, but like there were so many. I liked some of the risk taking. I do like what they were trying to do. The acting is great. But yeah, comparing it to the other series, like, did I like the first episode of WandaVision better? Yeah. Did I like the first episode of Loki better? Yeah. I even like the first episode of Ms. Marvel better, though the rest of Ms. Marvel falls apart. But, so the others, maybe I don't know if I liked what Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Such a kind of forgettable now. But I guess Moon Knight. I really like.
Oh, Moon Knight was phenomenal. Yeah, the first episode was good.
Yeah. So compared to those others, it certainly doesn't make me all of a sudden be like, I can't wait to the next episode. Like some of the other series.
Really? Because for me, oh man, like I gotta watch the next episode of the fallout of this. I'm still hoping she's alive.
I do. She looked dead.
When he shot her, I'm like, oh, please turn into a Skrull. No, because you're right. Even though Maria Hill doesn't really have much of a character, I still like having Colby Smulders around, and it's probably because I'm attached to Robin from How I Met Your Mother. So.
Yeah.
Fuck, I honestly I fucking hate that finale of How I Met Your Mother. This is random, but fuck that whole last season. Holy shit. So stupid. Whatever. It was Robin the entire time. Really, bro? Really? They cast such a perfect.
I mean, there's so many weird. There's so many weird things about that last episode. I don't even like. You almost don't know if they're like making a meta comment about it, because like they built so you know how there's like this overly sentimental goodbye to Ted, in a world where internet exists and like flights and phone calls, they're all like, but Ted's leaving for like so long, right? And then the next scene, he's like back at the bar, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh yeah, that moving thing. I'm not doing it." And then they just like, "What? Like, why did we just waste an entire episode like saying goodbye to you when you weren't saying goodbye?" But like the whole thing is like the Robin Robin Barney relationship. Like, you've built this Robin Barney relationship up over years and years, and the wedding is taking the entire season, and then it's just like, oh yeah, and they get divorced. It's like, oh.
And Barney, for some reason, wants to do like that month-long like thing where he gets laid every day, and then somehow he has a kid now. We never meet the mother.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Right.
Okay. Like.
Exactly. I know. But at least they didn't just kill Robin, leave her dead at the end of the episode.
I wanted to see the mother interact more with like everybody together, and she kind of does throughout the entire last season, but still, I would have liked to have seen them.
She does the best that she can with that material. I mean, she did the best she could with that material, but like, come on. Show is fundamentally flawed, like, premise to begin with, you know.
So, episode 2, let's get right into it. And so we were just talking about it briefly before we started recording. And so you're mixed. You liked it and you didn't like it, because I liked it quite a bit.
Well, I would say that the second episode is better paced than the first one. I'd still say that the show is still really slow. The second one is better paced. The dialogue is pops more. There's more excitement. But then there's just some weird aspects to the plot. Like, we'll see where it all goes, but Secret Invasion is astoundingly conservative. Like, astoundingly conservative.
In what way?
In its politics. Well, I mean, there's little things. There's little things like, people flippantly talking about how America can just carpet bomb your country and stuff like that.
That was a joke from Rhodes. Come on.
Sure. Well, Rhodes especially, man. That character. And then there's like weird stuff like torture working, which is also like a weird thing. I mean, we haven't been talking about this in American politics, the use of torture for a while since Abu Ghraib, but there was all this discussion of whether or not we should be allowed to, when that happened, whether torture was valuable. And, all the experts come out and kind of say like, no, torture doesn't work. Like, you get bad information when you torture people. Like, you shouldn't be torturing people, like, beyond the cruelty of it. And then I remember like 24, then that same year has a plot where people get tortured and give up information. They try to, so it's weird to have a torture scene, saying like, no, torture gives you good information. We should torture people. Like, and granted it's there for, so we know a little bit about the character of Olivia Colman's character, but it's weird to portray torture as effective on screen. These are all the little things. The big thing is how it's portraying refugees. Like, that's the largest thing. Like, this is essentially the plot of the show is Earth allowed in all of these refugees, and then now they're turning around in a literal great replacement theory kind of like fucking shit to take over the world, to take over
Actually, Earth didn't really allow it. It was unknowingly it happened. Even Fury didn't know how many refugees actually came in. That was a huge point of contention between him and Talos.
Yeah, that they're sneaking in. And that Nick Fury says, like, Earth is too full and all of these things. There's a lot of dialogue.
That's not exactly what he said. And he had a very good point. I say this as an immigrant myself, but that's besides the point. He had a very good point, and which is, we've been at war with each other since we could walk upright. Mm-hmm. And there is no way humanity would ever be tolerant towards something that is not only green in skin tone, but could also shapeshift and have superhuman strength. This is actually something that, like, they can't stay here, because even one Skrull could cause a extinction level event. And that is, and they don't even have the technology, because the Skrulls have been kept like super secret. They don't even have the technology to detect them.
Right, but yet the show is repeatedly calling them refugees, calling them homeless refugees. And so it's it's a bit weird. I mean, we'll see where they take it. We'll see where they take it, but it's a little odd that the villains of the show are refugees who are now like unsatisfied with their situation and not grateful and essentially trying to like it's. I mean, Tucker Carlson would push the great replacement theory all the time on his show that like, oh, people were, Democrats want to let in all of these refugees who are different because they're going to vote for us and they're going to replace you and your culture, and it's no longer going to be like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It's going to be tacos, and your whole way of life is getting replaced. It seriously is. And so it's really weird. It's really weird that alien refugees are coming in to take over Earth. There's a lot of odd politics in the show.
A lot of interesting politics, which is why I love it so much. I love this type of stuff.
Yeah. It's odd. Like at the beginning, so the show opens with Nick Fury telling this completely pointless story. I mean, it's interesting to hear about Nick Fury's life and all, but like about him being on the colored car in Alabama or Mississippi. I always confuse those two states. Alabama, and how his mom would interview him to find out information about him and all this long story about being poor in Alabama, in segregated Alabama, to get to like, yeah, I don't lie to me, or like that. I was like, tell me some stuff, It was interesting, but you're also like, huh, that's kind of shoved in there. And so, and then later, there's another really weird politics moment where he's sitting with Rhodey and with Rhodes and, like Nick Fury really pulls like help a brother out. He like really like that's his thing. Like he's gonna get fired, and he's like, but help a brother out. And Rhodes is like he then throws like this huge conservative like anti-affirmative action speech at him, where like we're not replacing like racism with like another form of racism. Essentially, what he says in response. It's very. But
you have to admit that is a cold fucking line.
Oh yeah, it was a cold, like, because I think the literal line is, we didn't knock the mediocre man who didn't look like us to turn around to hand it to a mediocre man who did, and referring to like Fury as like mediocre. Yeah.
The quote is, we did not wrestle power from mediocre men who didn't look like us, just to hand it to mediocre men who do. Right. That line goes so, you know what? Out of all the lines we've gotten so far in the Disney Plus television show series, this one, I would rank it up there with, what's that one from WandaVision that you liked? Something love persevering.
Oh, what is grief but love persevering? Yeah,
there it is. That one.
It's a very well written line. Yeah. No, I mean, like politics aside, like it's a very well written line. I'll grant, like, whatever, like that's, but it's kind of also forced in there because it's like I'm watching with my wife, and her comment was, What if they hadn't sent Rhodes? Like, what if they'd sent a white guy? Like, what would have Nick Fury done? Because I was kind of like, it's a bit weird considering, like, you were linked to a terrorist attack in Russia that killed 2,000 people. Do you think help a brother out's really going to work? like in this situation? Like, it's just kind of a weird, this isn't like, dude, lend me $5, like, help a brother out. Like, this is like, I'm sorry. I was linked to a terrorist attack that killed 2,000 people in Moscow. help a brother out. It's so weird.
By the way, do you think Rhodes is a Skrull?
He's looking like it, right? He's looking like it for being such a being such a dick.
Have you noticed how you can tell the Skrulls now? It's somewhat of an open secret. Have you noticed?
Mm. What is
you haven't I love that they did this. So they didn't. This only started.
They have a towel. You're saying?
No, actually. You can thank the costume department. All the Skrulls disguised as human have something green on them. I'll give you a great example. So remember when Graphic goes into the meeting with... By the way, I want to make this very clear, because people always say, Carmine, you didn't notice that. You got that from... Nope, I fucking noticed it. Fuck you. Remember in the meeting when Graphic goes in there and the UK Prime Minister woman, she declares him general?
Okay, yeah.
If you notice, before that scene, all the Skrulls disguised as humans were not wearing green. After that scene, Rhodes goes to this, like, small council meeting with all, like, the EU leaders. And if you notice, she has this incredibly ugly-ass green necklace for seemingly no fucking reason. And throughout the entire room, you see random-ass people wearing bright, ugly, gross green. For no fucking reason. When otherwise they would wear, like, muted, darker, business-like colors.
Right.
You notice that?
Okay. I mean, I'll have to go back.
I have the episode here.
Is it when they're first introduced they're wearing green, or is it like every scene they're wearing green?
After the meeting with Gravik, where Shooter McGavin and, like, the NATO guy... By the way, did you notice the Fox News guy is Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
I fucking love that. After that meeting, they all start wearing gross green. So let me give you a quick example of that. Let me take a screenshot of this. Like, you see a guy in the back wearing, like, some kind of, like, African garb that's, like, bright fucking green. And the UK Prime Minister... Here's a screenshot. Let me send this to you on... here. Hope I'm sending you the... Here it is. Do you see her? It's on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, that necklace is out of control.
It's ridiculous. If you notice her attendant or bodyguard in the back, his tie has some, pigments of green on it. And then to her left, or to her right, is the France Prime Minister.
Yeah, she's got that green scarf.
Right, and a little green, like, lapel.
Yeah, so, okay.
Going forward, I think that's, like, the open secret of how you can really tell who's really a Skrull. So, when Rhodes and Nick Fury are having their conversation, I was looking around the entire time to see who around them had the green thing. Rhodes had no green, but for some reason, they're at a fancy restaurant, and instead of having, like, flowers, there's a fucking green leaf on there. So it might mean that maybe Rhodes isn't a Skrull, but he's being watched by them. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, that little flower. That flower...
That's a bullshit.
That's subtle. That could be anything. I mean,
You're right. It could be anything. And here's another thing. Sonya is almost definitely a Skrull. Because during her torture scene with that guy, she's wearing green the entire time. And so is he, actually. He has green pants on.
I see.
There's no way she herself is not a fucking Skrull. But she's, like, I guess one of the good guy Skrulls. Hold on, let me show you real quick.
I mean,
like, there's no reason for her to wear, like... by the way, I just want to make the audience clear, I have nothing against the color green, but, like, it just seems so fucking random that people would wear this all over the place.
Oh, I mean, she's got the big green dress, and yeah.
When it doesn't match. Like, I'm not the fashion police, but that's kind of like...
She looks, you wouldn't wear that outside of the Christmas season,
Right.
Green and red.
She does kind of look like a Christmas present, you're right. Like a mistletoe. So I love that there's this open secret going on that the show is kind of letting you in on it if you're, like, paying attention and cluing in.
Right.
To see who's really the Skrull.
Rhodes was actually, I mean, he was not a Skrull, he's just a dick. Yeah, so.
You not liking Rhodes is funny because that's always been his personality. Rhodes has always kept his friendship with Tony, like, close to the chest, and he's always helped Tony out. But Rhodes has always consistently been a government guy. He's always been a G-man.
I mean, I guess with Rhodes, the thing is you know him from Iron Man movies, and he he's not a bigger dick than Tony Stark. So, or like if he's being a dick, it's to Tony Stark, so who deserves it. So it's like you wouldn't notice if Rhodes was a dick, you know. But here he's being a dick, like overly a dick to Nick Fury, which, I mean, I don't understand any of like their chain of command in the show. Like now, like the DoD is like firing him from Shield, but is Shield, but
I think it's Saber at this point.
Saber under DoD. You know,
so there's a weird continuity issue going on right now in the MCU that people are just scratching their heads at, because right now, as far as we know, Nick Fury is fired from all these clandestine operations. Okay. But then, did you see the Marvels trailer? The Marvels trailer?
Yeah, I did.
At the very beginning of the trailer, he's up in that space station. So that movie either takes place before Secret Invasion or after Secret Invasion. Okay. So we don't know yet what his position will be going forward.
Or he goes back. He's just like, I'm going back to the moon.
But that's kind of a spoiler. However, that's not the biggest spoiler that they spoiled in the trailer. So did you watch the Secret Invasion trailer?
I did, but I don't remember it too much, so you're gonna have to remind me.
So I went back and, when Emilia Clarke's character is going through and doing her own super sleuthing, if you notice, she's going through, like, the computer and she's finding out that, these guys are up to something. And we see that they have, like, body parts and pieces and other stuff from aliens that have invaded Earth before or have been on Earth. So they found, the Skrulls somehow were able to obtain Groot's, like, tree trunks.
Yeah, I saw that on her computer, right? That she was passing by Groot and Frost something, some Frost giant thing or something. There was some other.
The Frost Beast is actually from Thor: Dark World. At the very end, there's like a Frost Beast from Jotunheim, like there for some reason. I'm trying to find the trailer, but in the trailer for Secret Invasion that came out a couple months ago, Gravik has like superpowers where he's like having tentacles come out of his hands. So kind of spoiled that he's already going to get like Groot's powers so far as we can tell. So they're kind of spoiling. They're kind of spoiling the whole thing. But that's
right now that he's like, where they're going to make us stronger with that machine. I got it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though they're already strong. Like I said, like, I don't want to be like, Hitler-esque when I say this, but the Skrulls can't stay on Earth. Like, that is, one Skrull alone could trigger nuclear catastrophe. The NATO commander is a Skrull. And he could very easily order UN troops into Russia and cause nuclear annihilation. Yeah.
I mean, this is the weird thing with these, like, with these allegories, with these, fantasy and sci-fi allegories of like things that are like happening in the real world, is that, a lot of times it's with a fantastical species that's like super strong, that like which immediately like makes it not a good analogy anymore and not a good comparison, but it's still there. So like you watched True Blood, right?
Of course, my favorite seasons 1, 2, and 3, amazing.
Now, of course, like True Blood, there's so much like comparison to between the vampires and like the gay community, right? Like that's like an enormous part.
I actually never made that connection, but I'm curious where you're going with this.
I mean, dude, in the opening montage of the show, it says there's a sign that says God hates fangs. And they call like the day in which they all revealed themselves to the public as coming out of the coffin. Like how did you not catch that? They all talk about like vampire rights and everything throughout the show. But of course it's a little ridiculous to make the comparison, because the vampires literally have the ability to like have super strength, have a history of murdering and killing people, drink human blood, and can glamour you and control you with like a look, right? Which is just like
all the powers of the gays, of course.
Right.
Now it's starting to make all sense.
All the powers of the gays, right? So at that point, it like all falls apart, and you're like, well, wait a minute, like it's completely reasonable to fear vampires in this world. You can't compare it to like being scared of gay people, which is not reasonable to be scared of, you know? So it was always an odd thing that they'd made True Blood like political when it doesn't work. And so it's odd in this situation too, because like the Skrulls are refugees, and we're dealing with like real political implications here. You know, when you start calling people refugees and you start making these comparisons, because they are making the comparisons, you know. But also the Skrulls are aliens and have super strength and can like shapeshift, you know. Which okay, you know.
That's, by the way, that's a very good point on True Blood. I don't remember the coming out of the coffin thing, but, you know, God hates fangs. I always thought that was just the South being, you know, the usual South and hateful, you know. They just added an N and an S there to the usual sign, and there it goes. But that's actually, I did not think of it until you pointed out. Good, that's a good point. I love the first 3 seasons. Fuck, that show fucking sucked after
it was,
3.
you know, first 3 seasons, and then it became the worst show ever.
Worst show ever.
Yeah, it's just a little weird. So there's another weird statement that you know, keeping in mind this like refugee situation, because it's like they're at that council where you know they all of a sudden just roll over and give it to the terrorist. And which I want to say that the Skrull that's pretending to be like the Indian Prime Minister or something. She says, we didn't become refugees because we weren't willing to go to war. We became refugees because we were willing to go to war too much. And that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way as well. Because all of a sudden it's kind of like saying that refugees like deserve it. Like they brought about their own fate, you know? Like
so are you familiar with the Skrulls in the comics?
I am.
A friend of mine had to explain this to me because I didn't understand about like the Skrull history. This was last week after we recorded. So something I didn't know that you might know, but they don't explain this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or maybe they did in Captain Marvel. I forgot. It's been years.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Skrulls were a very warlike race of people, and maybe they're warring and, you know, just brought about their destruction because people just got tired of it and decided to come together. Thus the Kree trying to exterminate them all because the Skrulls are just, once again, they're overpowered.
This is one of those, this is also like one of those weird things, right? Because, you know, in fantasy and sci-fi, meeting different alien races is supposed to tell us about humanity, right? This is always like what it's for. And so it's weird when you meet an entire like warlike race, you know, like because these races are stand-ins for like humans. So what are we talking about when we're talking about like refugees of a warlike race? Are we talking about like, because when we think of refugees in our world, often when people have discrimination against refugees and when we don't want refugees, the people that are against them kind of talk about their culture or their nation or their, you know, even beyond this, sometimes their race as like different, fundamentally different and incompatible with like America. So like, oh, we don't want too many of those Haitians to come to America because then America will fall apart like Haiti did. You know, or we don't want too many of those Syrians to come into Europe because then Europe will fall apart like Syria did. You know, so do you understand like how it's a little dangerous to start talking about an entire race of people or entire nation of people as being one way, as being warlike or being, you know, savage, you know, and which So, which this is kind of like the problem with like portraying the Skrulls as a warlike species. Like it's indivisible from their character. We can't take the war out of the Syrians, and things like that. Now, we're only in episode 2. Maybe they're purposely exploring like these conservative themes because they're going to come around later. On things, and we do have good Skrulls in the show and bad Skrulls, so we'll see where they go. But man, this episode was pretty it was pretty crazy. The
Skrulls immediately have more personality on an individual level than like most of the races in Star Trek. Like, remember how all the Klingons
right.
love battle and honor, even though most of them don't
right.
even act
It doesn't
honorable.
make sense because you're like, who's building your spaceships? Like who's doing your research? Is there this whole other group of Klingons who are like, there is much honor and glory in doing linear algebra, like what, who are all these people, computer programming is the greatest honor. It's the battle against coding,
But, so far I like how the Skrulls are portrayed. And I will say, though, they kind of do have a point about being pissed off at Fury, because it's been 30 fucking years, almost 30 years.
I don't know how Fury dropped the ball here.
Fury has yet to find a planet for them, because that was his whole thing. Like, you work for us as super spies,
right?
Because that's what they've been doing, and we will find you a planet. And that has not come to fruition. So I don't blame them for being pissed.
You literally know a woman who can fly through the galaxy, like searching for planets.
Yeah.
Like he literally like is friends with someone who can do that, who can fly through space and like find planets.
By the way, I noticed I noticed you didn't mention the most ridiculous bullshit part of this episode, which is when Rhodes is having his conversation with Fury. Rhodes is like, "How about we bring in our friends?" Nah, we can't do that. I mean, imagine if we have the Avengers fight the Skrulls. Then the Skrulls could look like them and commit terrorist attack and turn the people. Really? Are we really going there? That doesn't make that's a load of shit.
Don't mention them. Just don't mention the Avengers.
But
just
you
say
have
the Avengers
to,
are gone. Then just say the Avengers are busy. And then you'd be like, busy with what? It's classified. That's it.
It is the biggest elephant in the room that's very hard to tackle, because what could be more pressing than nuclear annihilation between two great powers?
It's classified. That's
I fucking hate that. I will say, maybe on one hand, it is, based off what we see at the very end of this episode, maybe they don't want to bring in the Avengers because then the whole situation will be public, because the public at large does not know about the Skrulls being a thing on Earth, and it seems like Fury is super attached to these people, as we saw at the very end. So if Fury had to call in the Avengers, then that means the whole situation becomes public, and the public knows about the Skrulls, and he wants to protect them as much as possible.
And then they panic. I mean, look, there's a million better lines that you could have put in there for like why the Avengers aren't here. They're just busy. They got something else going on. I mean, I'm trying to think like in universe, where are the Avengers right now?
We had this conversation last week as well with episode 1. Like, people don't know Spider-Man's identity, so maybe no one knows how to get in touch with him. As far as we know, he's just a local vigilante. He doesn't have like a giant fucking hammer.
Doctor Strange should be able to fix all of this. Like he should.
Doctor Strange is off-world.
Why is Doctor Strange off-world? What did they say? Did they say that? Did
you not see Multiverse of Madness?
I did.
Right at the very end of Multiverse of Madness, Charlize Theron's character comes to him and says, "Hey, I need your help," and they like jump into a portal.
Okay, fine. Doctor Strange. Then they should say like Doctor Strange is gone, because he could solve this in a minute. He could just cast a spell and all the Skrulls reveal themselves, right? Like that's pretty easy.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess Falcon and the Winter Soldier would be helpful, but they're not that powerful. They're definitely around. And,
by the way,
same with U.S. Agent.
Looking back, that was so fucking dumb of Sam not to take the super soldier serum. Like, he literally could have been the next Captain America and not need, well, maybe he could have had the wings too, but he could have gone toe to toe with, like, every single bad guy going forward that's like a planet level threat. But now he's just some guy with wings. You clip those wings, what does he really have?
Those wings are awesome. He can do, you know, he can do some mildly okay, like, stuff.
Mildly okay. I mean, sure, whatever. Like, fine. So, you're right. We have Falcon, we have Soldier, we have She-Hulk, we have actual Hulk, and his son, who are all on the planet. And I'm not even going to mention Daredevil, because that's a street-level hero. The fuck can he do?
Right, and I guess Wong... Wong could have cast the spell.
Wong could probably cast it.
Isn't Shang-Chi around?
Shang-Chi is around. Ant-Man is also around.
Yeah, you're right. Ant-Man could like shrink all the Skrulls. I don't know. It's yeah.
Also, the conversation between Fury and Talos really annoyed the fuck out of me because you know, Fury is upset that there's 1 million Skrulls on the planet? What? Why wasn't I notified? Well, you were gone. And half the Earth's population, of maybe 6 to 4 billion people, vanished. We figured all this extra housing that no one's using could be put to use. He could have said something like that, but...
Oh my god, that would have been the perfect response, actually. Like, oh my god, script doctor Carmine here. First of all, that's a much better excuse than anything else. Like, first of all, like, because I have to say, inviting a few friends over when your friend is gone is one thing. Inviting 1 million people over is a bit extreme. That's a bit extreme. 1 million Skrulls. Now, had he said, you're right, had he said, like, you were blipped and this planet needed labor, like, you know, there were so many jobs that needed to be done, you know, farming, whatever, to keep the planet going after the blip. And so, like, I invited the Skrulls.
Yeah. Would make a lot of sense.
And then when the blip came back, there were twice as many. So I only asked 500,000 Skrulls to come, but then the blip undid it, and they're here. You know, like
I'm assuming the 1 million came after people left. Because it seems like the moment Fury was blipped out of existence, that's when things went haywire and yeah, like, Talos had to do something, for the people, his people out there. So, like, I get it. But it also seems like Fury has, like, not just a really strong, like, friendship with these people, he's also married to one of them, though I don't know, what makes me a little confused is, we see the scene of his wife, supposedly, in her Skrull form, and the moment he comes in to see her, she transforms into a human. So, does he know she's a Skrull? Or...
I think she does, because I think it's the same Skrull woman from the beginning that introduces the villain to him.
I cannot. I can't.
The only reason I'm making the connection, I mean, this is behind makeup, but I think that it looked like that the woman at the beginning was black. And it looked like playing a Skrull, and it looked like the woman at the end was black playing a Skrull as well.
Gotcha.
And so I'm assuming it's the same woman. Though it might be two different black women under Skrull makeup, but forgive me if they're under Skrull makeup, and I can't, you know, and I can't tell people under Skrull makeup apart, you know. So, forgive me.
I'm actually really enjoying the series. Episode 1 was okay. Episode 2, I think, is a lot better. But I'm a sucker for, like, the spy thriller type of stuff. And the extra layer of them shapeshifting and them making it somewhat obvious that this human is a Skrull because of the green thing. That just adds an extra layer of fun to it. I'm enjoying the show so far.
Don't you... Yeah, though I still think that he should have mourned Robin a little more, you know?
He mourns her in his own way, which is... getting fired from Saber.
Yes, he seems to mourn getting fired a lot more than mourning.
That's true. That's true.
He like sits down on that bench and he's like, "Oh, I got fired."
I still don't think Robin's dead. I still think she may be alive, and we'll see her at the very end. Gotta hope I'm right. there's no way they can kill off Maria Hill. But then again, it does show that Skrull threat is like super duper real, but still, nah.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird, like the different orders of magnitude they use to try to make people seem evil. So you've got the villain, right? He kills 2,000 people and Robin, and then this episode he like rescues. They go out of their way to be like, oh yeah, he rescues one of his own men, but because he suspects that the guy like revealed some information, he kills him in the woods. He's already Osama bin Laden. Like, he's literally already... In fact, they said it might be worse than Osama bin Laden because, 3,000 people died in 9/11, but, like, 2,000 people died in Moscow, but they said, like, after the rubble is cleared, it might be 3 times that. So, like, the dude's already Osama bin Laden, right? So, like, you didn't need to have, like, another scene where we show Osama bin Laden, like, kill one of his own men, like... Okay, yeah, Osama bin Laden sucks. Like,
but no. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, and so far so good. We'll see where we go from here. By the way, is this the first time we've seen Samuel L. Jackson macking down on another woman in the movie or show? Because I don't think I've ever seen him do that. Ever.
Like make out with people?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him. Like, have a tender moment like that with an actress on screen. Have you?
I'm trying to remember, like, Samuel L. Jackson movies. So there's a scene in Shaft where the bartender goes over to him and is like, are you going to take me home or what? And he says, it's my duty to please that booty. And that's like... But you don't actually see them hook up. She just comes over and says, you to take me home or what? Samuel L. Jackson, like, in love scenes?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Samuel L. Jackson does not kiss many women on screen. He's made well in excess of 100 films, but reckons he's only locked lips with 5 leading ladies. In the movie which he's... Then he meets Selma Hayek. I think he kisses Selma Hayek in some movie. And so... But that, maybe? He's claiming there's some romance in here. I don't know what movie it is. But then... trying to think. They don't even list, like, he's just, like... off the top of his head. Okay, here we go. Nope. Are they not gonna reveal it? Damn it. It's not, they don't even reveal it. But I guess he gets to be romantic with Selma Hayek in The Hitman's Bodyguard or something. He kisses Gina Davis in The Long Kiss Goodnight. I think he kisses somebody in a movie called In My Country. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, there it is. I mean, I guess we found a few of them, so he's doing okay. Yeah, he's getting a few smooches here and there.
Interesting.
How do we get on this, man? The range of what we talk about here. We're talking about, like, refugee politics and who Samuel Jackson has kissed in movies.
That was mostly episode 2. But, no, overall, I'm enjoying it. I can't wait for episode 3. I like the spy thriller stuff. And
well, you feel a lot more positive than after episode 1. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a huge step up because I like the political aspects of the show. I like the spy thriller type of stuff, and the Skrulls actually seem like a more credible threat than most of the actual villains we've gotten so far in the MCU Disney Plus television shows, with the exception of the WandaVision and Loki guys. But like the Flag Smashers kind of sucked. I forgot the bad guys in Hawkeye. They kind of blew, and
the Bros. Or it was like the moving
bros. Moon Knight kind of had a villain who was... Those guys were cool, but they were just normal guys, with the exception of Ethan Hawke's villain who kind of got superpowers at the end. But for the most part, Skrulls, pretty credible threat.
Yeah, I mean, the villain is certainly evil, but I guess we're like comparing him to all the other villains. I don't know if he measures up yet. We'll see. Like, yeah, he's evil, but like, is he as compelling as Ethan Hawke was? Do you remember how compelling Ethan Hawke was as a villain? You know, or like how compelling like Loki is, or
is Loki a villain anymore though?
Yeah, I don't know. Or yeah, fair enough. But well, when we think of the best villain, WandaVision's Agatha or whatever.
That is true. Agatha is so good. They're giving her own Disney Plus series next year, I think.
Yeah.
So, Preston, do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.